Brian Craig here with a huge announcement from the Thomas Edison of sleep, the inventor of the My Pillow, Mike Lindell. And My Pillow are now offering a BOGO extravaganza on multiple My Pillow items. Right now at MyPillow.com with our promo code Kane, Kane at checkout, buy one, get free pricing on My Pillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance My Pillows, the 6-piece My Pillow towel set, and the My Pillow Roll and Go Anywhere My Pillows, and so much more. Just go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener specials. Use the promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout, or call toll-free 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. It's a new week. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to us on. You know, I turned on CNN today. And the reason I turned on CNN is just because I was flipping around the dials on the news, and I flipped over there. And I left it on for a few minutes. And it's a very strange experience watching CNN. If you watch, it really is amazing to think how liberals think, because that's where liberals get their news, right? Liberals watch CNN for their news. Extreme lunatic liberals watch MSNBC. But most Democrat-minded people, they're not Democratic, the Democrat-minded people watch CNN, and that's where they get their information. And it is a whole nother world. You know, Kathy, if I were in a coma, right, and I woke up today in the hospital bed, and most hospitals have CNN, right? So if I were in a coma for the last couple of years and I just woke up in the hospital and they had CNN on, I would not even know that Joe Biden was in the White House. I would think Trump was still president, because everything they talked about on CNN was Trump, Trump, Trump. Every story, Trump. No matter what they were talking about, it had a Trump angle to it. And I thought Trump derangement syndrome had kind of like faded away, but they have it pretty hard over there at CNN.
No, it hasn't faded away at all. In fact, it's getting worse. It's amping up again because we're getting in close to November, and there's going to be elections, and Trump is going around campaigning and promoting people. He's in the news. He's on Truth Social now.
Yeah.
The Elon Musk thing has them really freaked out because they know that Trump will be back, whether he uses the platform or not, just him having an account. But I worry that people that work there now have created or are going to create back doors to get into this app. And they're going to keep blocking.
Truth Social?
Twitter. And they're going to keep blocking and deleting people no matter what. And like Mike Lindell went on the other day, and then he was suspended 2 hours later.
Well, Elon hasn't taken over yet.
I know, but even when he does take over, how can he prevent that? These people have 6 months to do their stuff and to get in there and to make these little pathways and whatever they do with computers.
You know, what you're saying is right.
Things up.
You know, the people.
It's too much time. Too much time.
The people that work at Twitter, we all know they're left wing. You know,
lunatics.
Yeah, completely unhinged, and you know they're really in a freak out mode right now because the people at Twitter saw themselves as gods on Mount Olympus, just like, you know, in Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
When the gods have those little figures of people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how these Twitter people are, the people that run Twitter. And they have just been dethroned. It's like a dictator that's been deposed, but they're still there for a little while.
Well, their main form of influence and brainwashing is being taken away from them. And I wanted to play this one soundbite. Now, this is a guy from MSNBC, and this was all over Twitter this morning, or on NBC, and he's having a complete. Elon Musk actually retweeted this, so I gotta figure out how to go back to the beginning. So let me go back to the beginning. Elon Musk retweeted this. This guy on MSNBC talking about Elon Musk, and he basically calls people on the right Nazis.
Easy in American discourse to talk simplistically about the far left and the far right as two equally dangerous fringe blocks. Elon Musk has done it plenty of times just in the past week. But here's the difference. America's far left wants to give us free healthcare and free childcare. America's far right wants to give us white supremacy and no democracy. And this asymmetrical polarization of US politics would be laughable if it weren't so horrifying. We are living through an unspeakably dangerous moment. The pro-QAnon, pro-neo-Nazi faction of the Republican Party is poised to expand dramatically come the midterms. We're just 2 years away from Donald Trump very possibly re-seizing executive power. If that happens, we may look back on this past week as a pivotal moment.
Okay, so then he finishes
okay,
up
let me
there.
tell you about this guy, okay?
He's having a meltdown over this.
There's a trend going on in America that I don't like. I don't know who this guy is.
No, some Brit, some red coat.
Well, here's the problem. This guy is on MSNBC.
Yeah.
There are too many people that are not Americans that are on American television telling us how to run our country and our politics. We've got Trevor Noah, who was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah.
He's South African. We've got Piers Morgan, a redcoat from the UK, and we've got this guy. And two of the three hate Trump like the plague.
Yeah.
Okay. Piers Morgan doesn't hate Trump. But you know what I mean? I don't really appreciate. I wouldn't go to England, okay, and go on television or radio in England. I know we have listeners in England, but I'm in America. I wouldn't go on television in the United Kingdom and tell them what I think about Boris Johnson or the Queen,
because we don't think about it.
Yeah, well, no. But when you are a guest in someone's country, you shouldn't be telling them how to run their country. And I'll tell you another thing: I don't like guys with British accents over here telling us what's wrong with America. Okay, we had a revolution. And we got rid of them. We got rid of the British, and we don't need the British here on American television telling us what's wrong with the country.
Well,
and then he said one other thing, Kathy.
Yeah, go ahead.
He said in 2024, Trump will seize executive power again. No, in 2024, he will be reelected to his second term.
Right.
And but he's already decided that that's a Nazi thing, and he's seizing power, and it's against the will of the people if he were to become president in 2024.
Well, that's how they view things.
Bad person, this guy.
And it was all over Twitter today, and Elon Musk, like I said, retweeted it. People were retweeting it. I've never heard of this guy either, so I really don't care what he says. But the fact that everybody was talking about it, I thought it was interesting because he represents the left and how they feel. And if the people elect somebody like Donald Trump, they still don't see him as duly elected. They see him, like you said, as seizing power. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
But this guy here, it's funny how he says the far left want to give us health care. No, they give us Antifa. That's what the far left give us. They give us crime. They give us people shooting up drugs in the streets.
South side of Chicago.
And letting people in the border, bringing in drugs, crime, cartels, drug mules. That's what the far left wants to do. No security on the border, defunding the police. This is stuff from the far left. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. The far left wants to bring us health care and free food or whatever the hell he said. No, the far left wants to bring us very dangerous things. They're out to destroy America. They hate America. They hate everything we stand for. They want to bring us men and women using the same bathroom and teaching 5-year-olds what it means to have no gender and all this stuff. That's the far left. But I guess he missed that memo. And then he wants to paint us as Nazis and radicals and that we're just dangerous people. It's really amazing, I was telling you today, how people can see one situation so differently. You know, you have people on the right, you have people kind of in the middle, and then you have people on the far right and the far left, and they're judging the same situation so differently. It really amazes me how the human brain processes things and how people can view a situation like that. But anyway, so, they've lost their mind at NBC, but, what else is new?
There's no doubt about that. I saw a story today, this afternoon, in the Gateway Pundit, and I tweeted this story. And this story shocks me, and there's a complete media blackout on it. And this is a major, major story. And I think this story will come as a shock to most everyone listening to this program. This is at the Gateway Pundit. This is a story as of today, okay? Foreclosures in America are up 181% in 1 year. Home sales are down 12.6%. versus last year. And this is
Where is this?
It's in the Gateway Pundit, and Inflation Tracker on Twitter tracks these things. Home sales in March were 763,000 versus 835,000 in February, down 12.6% versus last March. It goes on and on. But foreclosures are up 181%, and home sales are down 12.6%. Now, for us, where we live in Florida, because we're in Ron DeSantis' free Florida and perfect Florida, we have a housing shortage because so many people are migrating here. But what this shows me, people are going into foreclosure because they got behind during the lockdowns and shutdowns. They probably never could, recover from it. And I remember,
I know exactly what happened
when all that happened, when the lockdowns and shutdowns were happening, and people were getting deferred on their payments on their mortgages. I knew then that eventually.
Yeah, that's right.
Payments were going to be due. We talked about it here on this program.
What mortgage companies do is they have a forgiveness program, and they'll say, okay, you don't have to pay your mortgage for 6 months, but what they don't tell you is you're going to have to pay that back very quickly when that program ends, and you're going to find yourself massively behind and in massive debt. So I think you're right about that. I think that's part of the problem. A lot of people did that mortgage forgiveness and got themselves in a horrible trap.
Yeah.
And the banks don't mind offering that to you because then they foreclose and they own your home.
And, I knew this was going to happen. We talked about it during.
You talked about it a year ago.
And over that, 2 years ago, when the lockdowns happened and people weren't paying their mortgages, and I said, eventually this is going to, and here we are. And this story actually came out on the Gateway Pundit at 11:21 a.m. So this story has been out there for hours. I saw this maybe about 2 hours ago. But this story came out there this morning, and it's not being discussed on television. I mean, this is devastating news. And as much as the press are being critical of Biden in many, many ways, this is one that if Trump were in office right now, if Trump was the president today and he were in office, the media would shut down and cover this and only this. And and this, by the way, is a major, major record. This is a record set, another record. Bad record, but another record set by Joe Biden. And home sales down 12.6% versus last year. That's, here in Florida, it's a different situation because people are moving here in large numbers.
Yeah, there's a home shortage, actually.
But around the country, there's a huge...
Yeah, because they're all leaving to come here.
Well, this is very scary because in 2008, there was a financial crisis that was caused, the subprime mortgage crisis. It was caused by foreclosures. And there's not enough information that I have here to do a comparison on this and that, but you start to have foreclosures in numbers that size, we could very well have another financial crisis like we had in 2008.
Yeah, they don't care.
And they don't care. And what we have now is a president that's so checked out, he doesn't know what's going on.
Well, he had
couldn't deal with it.
His dinner with all his celebrity friends, and I didn't watch it, but I saw a clip of him joking, and it made me absolutely sick. The jokes. They were sitting there joking about inflation and making jokes about the high cost of things. People cannot afford food. I don't know about where you live, but let me tell you, here, food prices are up double than they were 2 years ago. And I'm not joking. A 12-pack of Coke is $8.50. That is water and a little syrup. Can you imagine this? 2 years ago, it was about $4, which I still thought was a little high. $8.50 now for a 12-pack of Coke. Other things, lunch meat is double what it used to be. Everything is like double or triple what it was 2 years ago. It is absolutely incredible. Gas prices, everything. But these people are sitting around in their tuxedos and their fashionable dresses by designers, eating their chicken dinner or whatever, and laughing at everybody and laughing at all of us because we're suffering, and they're making jokes about inflation. It made me absolutely sick. I wanted to vomit after watching that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this, and this goes with what you had talked about on your show a little bit about Biden's approval rating. And you said this is about CNN finally reporting new news. I'm not so sure about that. I'm wondering if this is because they're trying to get rid of Biden because he is such a disaster for the Democrats. They're trying to pave the way for somebody else because he's planning on running again. And usually the president gets the nomination. They got a problem on their hands. If this guy, we all do, if this guy wins again, or at least runs, I don't think he'd win again, but if he ran again, they know he cannot beat Trump. Never going to happen. He can't beat anybody with his record. So they want to get in Hillary or Elizabeth Warren is my guess, or God forbid, Pete Buttigieg. So let me play this real quick.
Gary, just walk us through this. How steep of a decline are we talking about here?
I mean, it is a big decline. I mean, if you look, this is Gallup polling, approve of President Joe Biden's job as president. Now look at this. Just 38% of 18 to 29-year-olds, 67% of black adults. Look back to where we were last year, January to June of 2021. It was 61% 18 to 29-year-olds. Black adults was 87%. Look at the change. Down 23 points among adults 18 to 29, down 20 points among black adults.
Okay, do you see the problem Joe Biden is for the party?
Yeah.
His approval is down 23. This is in 1 year's time, which is basically his entire presidency. His approval rating with 18 to 29-year-olds, these are two groups that the Democrats depend on for votes. Young Americans and black Americans. These are two of their biggest groups. 18 to 29-year-olds typically are Democratic. His approval is down 23 points. This is CNN. Mm-hmm. So you know that, black adults, his approval is down 20 points. And you had talked about that. So I'm not saying that this is a fake poll. I don't know. But the fact that they're reporting this poll tells me one of two things. I think, you said it's because they're reporting real news, but I think it's more, that could be it. I think it's more that they just absolutely want to disassociate themselves from Joe Biden. He is a poison to the party, an absolute poison. He is killing this party. He's going to bring them all he's another Jimmy Carter. He's going to bring them all down with him, and they know it. All the elections are going to be overturned. They're going to lose every seat because of this guy. They're going to lose the next presidential because of this guy. Yeah. He's a disaster of epic proportions, and I think they are throwing him under the bus big time.
All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will be back right after this.
From author Hunter Reese comes a comic book the entire family will enjoy. The Adventure of Reese Rabbit. The Adventure of Reese Rabbit tells the tale of a life-size bunny rabbit named Reese as he navigates through a world filled with anthropomorphic animals like him. The issue sees Reese and his best friend, Jack Houndsburg, trying to get rid of a regular-sized rat that has made itself at home in Reese's carrot-shaped house. The two soon find that it's a lot tougher than they thought it would be. Find The Adventure of Reese Rabbit online at CWSbookstore.com and search The Adventure of Reese Rabbit. The Adventure of Reese Rabbit from author Hunter Reese. Order your copy right now. Watch out. A teenage psychopath is on the loose at the New York World's Fair, and four brilliant yet unlikely friends must travel back in time to stop him. Resurrection 2020 by author Herb Guggenheim is the story of their bizarre journey. Along the way, the travelers face racism, fascism, corporate greed, and the postmodern nightmare that was the 1964 New York World's Fair. Resurrection 2020 will recreate the fair in your own mind and make it come to life. You'll experience it as though you were there. But Resurrection 2020 isn't just a thriller. Readers are calling it both savagely funny and gut-wrenchingly serious. Resurrection 2020 will have you on the edge of your seat. You won't want to put it down. Read Resurrection 2020 by Herb Guggenheim, available now in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions worldwide at Amazon.com. And watch for the audiobook coming soon to Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. Brian Craig here with a huge announcement from the Thomas Edison of sleep, the inventor of the My Pillow, Mike Lindell. And My Pillow are now offering a BOGO extravaganza on multiple My Pillow items. Right now at MyPillow.com with our promo code Kane, Kane at checkout, buy one, get free pricing on My Pillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance My Pillows, the 6-piece My Pillow towel set, and the My Pillow Roll and Go Anywhere My Pillows, and so much more. Just go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener specials. Use the promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout or call toll-free 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. You know, things are so weird in this country right now.
Oh, yeah.
That sometimes I see stories and I feel like I'm being trolled. And this story, I first saw this story a few days ago, and I have not brought it up on the air because it is so strange, so bizarre, so unbelievable. I had to see it in other. This is a common theme on the program. You'll hear me say this from time to time. I can't remember what the story was last week. It was a story. I saw the story and I said I didn't bring it up for a couple days because I had to see it in some more mainstream publications to believe it, because it just seems so ridiculous. This one I saw a few days ago, and now it's made mainstream media. So now it's like confirmation, and you'll see why when I first saw this story, I didn't go public with it. There's all these different genders and sexualities now. I don't understand it, you know, but this is one that is so strange that when I tell you this, you'll understand why I thought I was being trolled with this. There is a gentleman who is fictosexual.
Spell that.
Ficto sexual. Fixo.
F-I-C-T?
Yeah.
Like fiction.
Sexual. Yes, sexual. These
Yeah.
are new
Say
words.
that 10 times.
These are new words that are being created. So
Yeah,
I apologize.
He's attracted to fictional characters.
Yeah, he is attracted to fictional characters.
Mm-hmm.
He is fictio. Did I say right? Fictio? Fiction? Sexual?
Fixsexual.
Whatever. Okay. He is a fictosexual man. He married a fictional holographic woman.
Yes, I remember this story.
And
yes, now he's a widower.
Yes, he is the first fictosexual widower. And widower. Well, I don't gender specific him, Kathy.
Yes,
you don't know what this man's preferred pronouns are. Okay.
I apologize.
And what had happened was
how insensitive
is he was married to this fictional holographic woman.
Yes, I remember this.
Her software is out of date. She has shut down.
Oh my goodness.
And the software company that made his holographic wife no longer is producing updates for the software, so he could no longer speak with his wife.
Oh, no.
The holographic woman. He spent, this is a story out of Japan. He paid 2 million yen, which I don't know how much that is in dollars.
Probably $20. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
This story says 2 million yen is 12,200 pounds.
Okay, which is about $15,000.
Yeah, maybe about $15,000. And now he's a widower. He is
for a fake wife.
Man who's attracted to fictional characters.
I don't know
why not?
say about that.
I don't know what to say about it either, other than things are getting weird in this country. I don't know what's going on. Now, one thing I do understand is this. Okay,
that's not in this country. That's in Japan. So things are getting
not
weird
yet.
in Japan.
you mean to tell me you don't think there's any?
No, but you said things are getting weird in this
sexuals?
country, and he's not in this country. So
No. You don't think that there's some American kid on TikTok?
I'm sure
who's attracted to fictional characters.
I know there are.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all those anime characters with the big boobs.
Exactly.
So who do you think's drawing those?
Exactly. And exactly. Now, one thing I do understand, though, is this story. This involves genders and sexuality that I can comprehend. You may have seen this. There's a lady prison guard
yes.
Who an arrest warrant has been issued for her, and they're saying that she helped this inmate escape. You know, this will sound so
sexist.
90s or something, or 80s compared to the fiction sexual people. But things in this country started to go down the tubes when certain gender roles were put in inappropriate positions. For example, a female should not be a prison guard in a male prison. And you know what? A male should not be a prison guard in a female prison. You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I think so.
You're asking for trouble. And if you remember a few years ago, there were these guys that escaped from prison. They got them a week or two later, but they escaped. And it turned out that the nurse at the prison. A female nurse had smuggled something in so they could make a key and some block of frozen cheese or something. I can't remember, the frozen beef or something. She brought in a key and
I don't keep up with prison escape
or a
news.
file or something.
Yeah.
You see these stories from time to time,
Yeah,
right?
you do.
Where a female prison guard falls in love with a man in prison. I don't know what future she thought they'd have together. She helps him escape.
Neither one of them being relatively attractive.
Well, here's the thing, okay? I'm all about equality. Hey, listen. Everyone in American society is about equality and acceptance. But there were certain situations that people are put in with the liberalization of our society that are not good. For example, a man and a woman in a place of work should never be in a private meeting with the office door shut unless there's somebody else in there. Hopefully another woman. But
they start to do that now. That's kind of become a thing with people. And I think it's smart because I think in today's world, men need to protect themselves.
Doctors, a male doctor.
And women too. I think it's just a smart thing to do.
A male doctor should not be alone in an exam room with a female patient. I mean, it's not that these are bad people that are going to do something perverted, but you don't want to put people in a situation where questions could be asked and things like this. And what has happened, and it sounds like such a strange conversation to have when you look at libs of TikTok and what's going on in American classrooms with our teachers today. But no. The idea that women should be prison guards in male prisons is insane. There have been many.
But female prison guards can fall in love with female prisoners.
There have been,
and male
it's not
prison
as common.
guards can fall in love with male.
Well, you've got to have guards
in today's world, especially.
You've got to have guards, but that's not so common. And there have been stories of female prison guards being raped in prison by prisoners.
I don't know any woman that would want to do that. For a
and I mean, it's just terrible what goes on. And
it's crazy.
People are different genders and sexualities and everything else, and that's fine and dandy. But there are no longer any real, true cultural norms and standards in our society.
No, not anymore. In fact, you and I watched the Andy Griffith Show, and it's funny to watch shows from that time period. That was from the early 60s, started in 1960. It's a great show. But there's definitely gender specific roles. In fact, there's one episode where Ellie runs for a councilman and all the men just freak out over this.
A female running for city council.
For a city council.
Yeah.
Councilwoman.
She should be home taking care of a husband.
She's not even married.
Yeah, but she should be.
Right. And the whole town is in a flap over this. There's definitely in those old shows gender specific things. And people now, young people today would find that so offensive. They would just be like, oh my gosh, Andy Taylor's a bigot. I mean, and Barty Fife, and they would just try to get it pulled off TV because they'd be so offended.
Well, the thing is,
it's ridiculous.
The thing is, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where questions could be asked and suspicions could be raised, even if there's no chance of anything. There's a book I read many years ago.
Yeah,
this is an old book from the late 60s, maybe early 70s. I can't remember what year the book is. Old book. It's called The Man. It's about the first black president. And it's like it takes place in the early 1970s. And they made a TV movie with James Earl Jones playing the character. But I read the novel, and it was a pretty interesting thing. A black man becomes president by accident. What happens is the president and the Secretary of State are killed in a roof collapse while they're visiting someplace in Europe. And the vice president is really, really old and sickly and dying. So he can't take over. So they have the president pro tempore of the Senate is next in line after the speech. So, and it happens to be a black man, and they become president. It's like in the late 60s, early 70s when that's a controversial thing. And because he's assuming the role of a president that has passed, he has the same staff. So he goes into the Oval Office. He calls the secretary in to take dictation. That's how long ago, dictation.
Yes.
The secretary comes in and she shuts the door. And the president says, open the door. This is in the novel. And she says, why? And she says, because, you can just open the door.
Like Mike Pence.
And she said, I always have the door shut when I'm with the president. And he says, listen, I'm a black man. You're a white woman. Even if me being the president of the United States, I cannot be in a room with the doors shut alone with a white woman.
Yeah, like Mike Pence.
Because questions could be answered. Yeah. And, there are no gender norms. That's why this thing with Ketanji, the Supreme Court justice, was so controversial, because the only societal prohibition that is left is the pornographer, the kiddie rapist and stuff that were in front of her court that she gave light sentences to. Mm-hmm. That is the last thing where people say, no, you can't do that. Everything else is like
the
fair
last
game.
Taboo.
It is the only taboo left
So.
in American society is that, and she's light on that. And
but maybe marrying your brother or sister.
You know what? I wouldn't be so sure about that these days.
Of course, Hunter slept with his sister-in-law.
Yeah. So that's why the Ketanji nomination to the Supreme Court was such a bad thing, because she was light on something that is the last and only taboo in our society. And this thing with the prison guard and everything, there are just things that are inappropriate. A woman should not be a guard in a male prison. You're asking for nothing but trouble.
Well, and what they're doing in society is blurring a lot of lines. And I tell you, I feel really bad for kids and kids in their early 20s and younger kids, because, when we were growing up, there were like definite gender roles and definite things, that you could certainly count on in life. And I'm not just speaking in gender, but in lots of things. There's a lot of blurred lines now. Yeah. There's a lot of gray area. And that can be very confusing for kids. The way I was in my teens and 20s, my brain is so different now that I'm in my 50s. I mean, you really evolve, hopefully, and grow and mature. Things that would bother me, or the way I'll watch a movie, like you always talk about Less Than Zero or other movies. It's so funny. I'll watch movies that I watched in high school now, like 16 Candles or whatever. I have a totally different perspective than I did back then. And back then I had the immature, teenage girl perspective. But as an adult, you see things much differently as an adult. But these young people are just, so impressionable and so easily manipulated. And it really might take a long time, if ever, for them to grow up and wake up and realize what the F happened in my childhood, that I was taught all this.
Yeah.
And what was going on. And I really do feel you will see a big pushback on that in about 10 years. Mm-hmm. You're going to start seeing a lot of people that are being subjected to this. Being like, wow, I was in, it was crazy back then. Things are very blurred but back to the story of the prison guard. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be a prison guard in a male prison. I would feel totally unsafe. I think you're right. Sometimes, men and women together, especially in that situation where there's convicts and men locked up and not able to, be with women. I don't know. It seems like a problem to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's a lot of guys that run at female prisons that are screwing around with all the prisoners, like crazy. Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support. Thank you so much, everyone. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the episode description, and there are benefits to becoming a Patreon supporter, including commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode. So the names you're going to hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Jacquelyn, Rick, Rich, and Nick. These are our top Patreon supporters. And again, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this episode. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Is life becoming too much to handle? Maybe you just need a little guidance. Maybe you need a little zen. Find your zen with Jen. Jen L. O'Neill, or Coach J-Lo, is a certified life coach, writer, entrepreneur, business consultant, and author. As your life coach, Jen can help you discover your potential. She offers individual coaching sessions focusing on mastering your life goals, your relationships, and yourself. Sometimes all we need is someone to steer us in the right direction. Jen can help. She will help you build stronger relationships, get more self-confidence, improve your business or job performance, and finally find inner peace. It is possible. She knows how to get you where you want to be. As a natural motivator with 7 years of coaching experience, she tailors her approach to her clients' needs and has overcome many obstacles herself, so she understands and connects with her clients on a deep level. Contact Coach J-Lo today. And if you know someone that needs a little push in life, let them know about Coach J-Lo. Check out her 2 books, Self-Worth Redemption and Too Nice. You can find everything at CoachJLo.com. That's CoachJLo.com. Are your pants falling down? There is a solution. Skinny Clip, available on Amazon and skinnyclip.com. Belts are bulky, uncomfortable, and expensive. Skinny Clip replaces the belt. Skinny Clip is an easy-to-use waistband tightener for men and women. It can easily work to tighten a belt on pants that are too loose. Skinny Clip tightens your pants without a belt. Maybe you lost some weight and you don't want to buy a new wardrobe. Maybe someone gave you clothes that you love, but they're a little too big. Skinny Clip can make them fit just right. Skinny Clip is a newly patented invention that holds up oversized pants easily and comfortably. It's easy to use too. Simply slide your waistband, twist, and hook. That's it. It works great on all types of fabric, skirts, slacks, jeans, and shorts. It's perfect for blue jeans that loosen up during the day. It's affordable and available in multiple colors. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Skinny Clip, when you're skinny for yourself. Skinny Clip is available on Amazon. Just search Skinny Clip or visit the website skinnyclip.com. No matter who you are, where you live, or your life situation may be in, relationships of all kinds have influenced your life. Both positive and negative relationships have an impact on our physical and mental health and our overall well-being. The book from author Dr. Lamar Spencer, The Depth and Diversity Within Relationships, available on Amazon, and the author's website, drlamarspencer.com, offers true accounts of love, loss, joy, and stress. These collections aim to encourage, inspire, and share experiences that have helped others just like you navigate relationships. In this must-read book, read about recommendations concerning mindfulness and relationships, as well as recommended keys to building positive relationships and the importance of setting boundaries. You will learn to build more positive and lasting relationships through this book, The Depth and Diversity Within Relationships, from author Dr. Lamar Spencer. Order your copy right now on Amazon and drlamarspencer.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. So I was talking at the beginning of the show that I was watching CNN for a little while today, and it's so strange. I feel like I'm in a parallel universe, an alternate reality watching CNN. They had a story involving Ronnie Jackson that they had a serious discussion about. This was John King. And they have some text messages from the Oath Keepers discussing protecting Congressman Ronnie Jackson during the Capitol breach. And they act as if Ronnie Jackson is somehow responsible for the Capitol breach because they have these text messages from the Oath Keepers,
like he was working
about
with
him.
People on the outside from the inside.
Yeah. So let me just tell you a couple things about this. Okay. First off, Ronnie Jackson on the Capitol breach. Remember, he was the admiral, the doctor, I think it was. He was organizing some of the congressmen. His military background came into play, and he is a retired admiral, so he's a leader, a military high-ranking officer. He got together. He's a congressman from Texas. He got the rest of the guys from the Texas congressional delegation that were in the House chamber together. They barricaded the doors. First, he had them all take off their neckties. I saw other congressmen talking about this. He says if they get in here, they could choke us with our ties. Take off your ties.
Right.
So and Ronnie Jackson was barricading the door. Now, regardless of your thoughts on January 6th, Ronnie Jackson obviously had no idea what the heck was going on because he was getting in military mode protecting the chamber when everyone else was running into the basement and hiding. And so far
he was trying to help in this situation, he felt at the time that he was in.
And this thing with the Oath Keepers, okay, so there's some text messages with the Oath Keepers talking about Ronnie Jackson. That's not the same as if Ronnie Jackson is text messaging with them.
No.
If one of you out there listening to this program are text messaging someone you know and you mention my name, that has nothing to do with me.
No.
Right? You know who I am, so you might say something about the show or say something about me.
Especially if you're a public figure. It means nothing.
And they had this long maybe it was 5 or 10 minutes. It seemed like it was going on forever. I couldn't believe they had any discussion about this on CNN, as if Ronnie Jackson was coordinating with the Oath Keepers on the Capitol breach because they were text messaging about him.
That tells me that they're really reaching and grasping at straws here.
I would say.
because their circle is expanding more and more and more. And the more it expands, the more they have nothing, because they're just keep going further and further out. And believe me, if they had something, I would think we'd know about it. It would leak, or whatever you want to call it, to the press, and they would tell us, that they have something. I don't know when this special stuff with Cheney is going to end, but I think it's going to be another dud. In fact, I know it is. It's going to be another Mueller investigation. Nothing to see here, and they're going to have to come out. Now, remember, she already set the stage. Because a couple weeks ago she said, there's criminal activity, but we're not going to pursue it. No. That means they found nothing. They have nothing. And they look like, and we're a bunch of chumps and idiots. And this is another wild goose chase at the cost of the tax. These politicians are such egomaniacs. They have got to stop launching these useless investigations that we are paying for. I mean, This just is this is the third investigation now they have launched into Trump. I mean, there's probably by the end of this, at least $50 million of our money being spent.
Much
just
more.
Absolutely unnecessary.
Much more than that,
and ridiculous. Going nowhere, just another waste of money, stroking their egos and to boost themselves politically. I really hope she does not win her state again. I cannot imagine. I mean, she's just a horrible person. Her and her father, who's a war criminal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I know. It's just like they were obsessing over Trump's taxes. And then
nothing to see here.
And then they get them in New York over a year ago.
That's right.
And they found nothing.
Yeah, we haven't heard from that either. Because, if they found something, we would have known about it the next day.
They would leak it. And they had like the most forensic look into that, and there was nothing. It's really amazing. There are not a lot of people that are as rich, famous, and successful as Donald Trump that are so squeaky clean. They think everyone's like Biden or the Kennedys because they're sleazy and have crooked deals going on. They just assume everyone who's rich is. And that's not the case.
Yeah, he came by it honestly. He actually is like a businessman who actually made his money by doing business, not by doing dirty deals.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they don't understand. That's how they make their millions.
That's right.
But not how a normal person outside of that world makes their money. And everything they've thrown at the wall doesn't stick. And it's just going to be more outlandish and keep going on. And when he announces his run, man, I tell you, it is going to be hilarious to see the reaction. You are going to hear so many things like racist, neo-Nazi, bigoted. You are just going to hear this. Don't fall for it. They are going to up their brainwashing so much because that is all they have. They can't come out and bash his record because food was cheaper, gas was cheaper, homes were cheaper, and people could afford rent when he was in office. Things are so bad now. People are living in their cars.
And, the thing with Trump that's amazing is that he kept the economy in such a great space during the lockdowns and shutdowns, which is a very difficult thing. Biden was handed a perfect country and economy by Trump, and he's wrecked the whole thing. And, the thing about what's going on in America today, and I've even heard them talk about this in liberal circles, none of us have experienced inflation like this. You and I were alive during Jimmy Carter, but we were little kids, right? Jimmy Carter, we were like in second grade and third grade, things like that.
Yeah.
I remember Jimmy Carter being president, and I remember people talking about the gas shortages and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I do remember him being the president. But I was a little kid. You don't have an understanding. Now, record inflation on everything in our lives is really hurting people after so many millions took such a financial hit during the lockdowns and shutdowns from COVID.
And it happened so fast, Brian. It didn't happen over the course of a 4-year term. It literally happened in months. Mm-hmm. In months, all this stuff just skyrocketed. But it's all Putin's fault. Make sure you remember that.
That's
Putin
why,
price hike.
That's why a lot of people are like, hey, listen, I feel bad for Ukraine, Putin, but, why are they giving so much help to Ukraine? It's because so many people are struggling in America, and it's hard for people to be concerned with another country far away that they can find it on a map now because it's been in the news the last couple months. Yeah. But before 2 months ago, most Americans couldn't find Ukraine on a map. And we've all been pronouncing the capital wrong. They say it's Kyiv. I say so Kiev. And it's hard to get concerned over that place so much as if the entire civilization relies on the future of Ukraine when there's so much suffering going on in America. But, the left are so radicalized. And, this ministry of disinformation, this is like the best thing that's happened to us because, the left – with this ministry of disinformation, they had the Homeland Security Secretary on the Sunday shows just promoting it and everything all weekend. The left are so out of touch with reality. They didn't have anyone in a position of authority that said, you know what, a department of disinformation, that doesn't really sound like a good idea in America. No, they're all so wackadoodle radical. All of them, that no one raised their hand and said, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do that. That's going to scare people. That's how radical they've become.
And even also, Brian, with Biden's poll numbers and with his support tanking, they're even reporting it on CNN. They still are not pulling back. I don't understand. All I can think of is they're getting, they got other intentions going on where somebody else is making them do this or having them do this for them because clearly his dropping support is not deterring them at all on what they're doing. I mean, are they so deluded that, you've heard Elizabeth, you've heard AOC and these people when, we're not radical enough.
Yeah.
We got to do more. I mean, that's really how they think when people reject their ideas, they double down even more. I mean, that's how clueless they are.
That's what the Ministry of Disinformation is about. The Ministry of Disinformation is there because they think that the reason that their agenda is being rejected is because there's too much information on the other side out there, so they have to counter it.
I see.
You understand? That's what they're thinking.
That all that other information is clouding our simple minds.
All the goodness that they're offering us.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying. Yes, that to me sounds like right out of Obama because that's how he thinks.
Well, this Ministry of Disinformation. See what happened?
His idea, I heard.
Social media has been around for over a decade now, and what social media did was, and so we've had social media in its current form for say 10 or 12 years. I know there's some stuff that's older, but you know what I mean, where everyone puts their whole life online. And I really hate it because, you get together with someone you haven't seen in a long time. They know everything about you. Got nothing to talk about because they see it all on Facebook, right? The generation of Americans that are under the age of 40 years old, because they've grown up not knowing a world without social media, have no expectation of privacy. So looking into what people are saying and things like this and getting into their private lives and their private speech, they don't have an understanding of why we're upset by that because everything they've ever done their entire life has been publicized on Instagram or Facebook.
But we talked about that a few years ago, how this younger generation is growing up with an expectation of sharing.
No privacy.
And the parents who put all their children's information and private stuff on Facebook and share everything about their lives are teaching their children that this is the normal. They should be teaching their children the value of privacy, which is what we taught our daughter. And our daughter is very careful, and we can't talk about anything going on in her life hardly at all. She tells us, I don't want you to discuss it. She's not really big on social media. She's a very private person, and she understands the importance of privacy because I never, when she was growing up, Facebook was around, but, I didn't share a bunch of stuff other than little pictures of nothing crazy or anything like that. But I see people, their kids just came out of surgery and they took a picture of their kid.
Yeah.
I know people that have done this and will take a picture of their kid knocked out from surgery, totally whacked out, looking horrible, and they'll put it on their Facebook page. Feel sorry for me, pray for my son. That is an invasion of privacy. And I think a lot of these kids are they're like you said, being raised to think that's the normal. But maybe when they get older, they're going to look back and be like, why would you invade my privacy like that and put everything on social media that's going to be out there forever and can come up years and years later without even considering how it would affect me?
Now, President Trump just announced a few minutes ago something that's pretty major. Listen to this. President Trump will hold a rally in Wyoming for Liz Cheney's Republican primary challenger.
I love it.
And it's going to be on May 28th. So it's going to be at the end of the month. And that is probably the most important rally
And I
that
think
Trump has done in years.
if you're going to make a political contribution, it should be to her opponent.
Oh, yeah.
Very important. That's a very important seat to overturn.
If President Trump, if everyone he endorses wins except that one person, they'll say, "Oh, Trump's being rejected." That's the most important race because it's just to unseat Liz Cheney to make that
That's the race
statement.
to donate to if you're inclined to do that.
And if Liz Cheney loses the primary, that's it. She's out.
When is that election?
It's coming up soon. The rally is on the 28th, so it's like it probably is the few days before the primary there. Well, listen, we're all out of time, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time.
From author Craig Evans comes your next must-read book, From Shattered to Soaring, available on Amazon. For author Craig Evans, innocence was taken as a child. Abandonment, physical abuse, and psychological torture swallowed his youth. Depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and agoraphobia were the result of suffering. But through surviving cancer, a new self-discipline was born, that of iron will and perseverance. He transformed himself from the broken pieces to find powerful courage to soar through fear, then above it. In From Shattered to Soaring, the author shares his extraordinary life story and reveals the powerful techniques as a practical guide that he used to transform fear, anxiety, and panic to reach his full potential. His story uncovers a path that anyone can follow with actionable exercises to shatter fear, drive through pain, and uncover their greatness. This book was written for those suffering from anxiety, panic attacks, agoraphobia, and depression. After enduring a lifelong struggle with these debilitating disorders, author Craig Evans discovered a way through the fear and no longer suffers. And he shares his experiences with you. Order your copy right now. From Shattered to Soaring, from author Craig Evans. This book is perfect for support groups and book clubs. Available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback.